Hi everybody, it's Kyla and welcome to Paranormal at the Boneyard. I decided to come to a place in the Hamilton Mountain which is considered one of the most haunted locations in Canada. So it's behind me, as you can see, a beautiful Gothic structure. Unfortunately all boarded up, not being used right now. But we're going to get a little bit closer. I've got my camera because I'm going to take lots of pictures. I've got my sunglasses because it's bright and sunny and I can't see a thing right now in the sun. So let's get a little bit closer to the building. This is the Century Manor on the Hamilton Mountain. Okay, now I'm facing the sun, so I really can't see, so I need the sunglasses. But yes, we are at the Century Manor, and you'd hear that, and you'd say, Century Manor. It sounds so pretty, it sounds so nice. This was actually a very, very sad location. This building, which is now a heritage building, is basically the last standing structure of what was once the grounds of the Hamilton Insane Asylum. And this building in particular was where they housed the worst of the worst. They were the criminally insane, and they were very, very violent people that stayed in this building. So I think with all that energy of negativity, of course, there were destined to be hauntings here. So we're not going to go inside because that's a big no-no. It's very dangerous inside. There are signs everywhere saying do not go inside. And but we're gonna walk around the grounds. I'm gonna constantly be taking pictures and taking a break, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the history of the building, a little bit of history of the grounds, and then I'm gonna tell you about the hauntings. So I hope that you enjoy it. Here we go. Now, for somebody like me, a photographer who loves to take photos of, old buildings, Gothic style buildings, Victorians, and, things that are broken down, derelict. I mean, this place is a dream, and there would be nothing more I would like to do than to get inside. But this building has been victim to many a vandal, many a people trying to break in, break it. They sneak in at night. I have seen video of people inside this building, so I know what it looks like inside, but I would not suggest it. My thought is do not go in this building. It is very dangerous. And if you get caught, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble. So there is security here. Do not go inside this building. As much as I think it would be cool, and as much as I would like to, it's a big, big no-no. So let's get on to the history of the building. All right, I found some shade. So, I've got my little cheat sheets here, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit of history about the place. This building itself, as I said before, is the only remaining building that was made for the asylum, and it was built in 1884. Now, the provincial government built was called the Hamilton Asylum for the Insane back in 1876. And then this building was built originally as a reception area, and then for some reason that I couldn't find, they changed it to house the criminally insane. So yeah, the worst of the worst people were housed in this building here and received their treatments. And well, people who were mentally ill did not exactly get the best treatment. Usually the treatment was just tantamount for torture. Just to give you a little bit of what these treatments were, there was dry packs and wet packs. Now that was either dry blankets or wet blankets that you were bound in. Basically, you were bound in blankets so tight and you were pinned to the bed. So kind of like, swaddling babies, only so tight that you couldn't breathe and you couldn't move. And some patients were so desperate to get freed from these bindings that they would actually take the pins and swallow them so they couldn't be pinned down anymore. So yeah, that was pretty bad. Then there was also the wonderful thing called electroshock therapy, which people still use to this day, which really annoys me. I do know somebody who was, I would say, a victim to electroshock therapy, and yeah, it's not good. It's horrible. It's horrifying and just awful. But yeah, that was pretty common back then. There was ice baths, which is exactly how it sounds. They would fill a bathtub full of ice and water and then put the patient in it, almost to think it's going to shock them out of whatever is bothering them, and would keep them in this bath for like hours sometimes. And it didn't happen very often here, but apparently it did happen every once in a while. They did have lobotomies here. And I think the other thing's called craniotomies. I'm not sure. I think that goes through the skull. I honestly don't know, but I do know what a lobotomy is, and they did have a few here. So, and on top of all that, there was the physical and sexual abuse that was patient on patient or staff on patient, and it was just terrible here. So, and on top of all that, if all of that wasn't enough, there would the patients here were considered entertainment for the masses. So people would pack their picnic lunch and bring their family down here to make fun of the people who were here. And as we know, the definition of insane wasn't the same then as it is now. Basically, if you weren't considered part of the norm, you were considered insane. If you did things like, if a woman did something crazy, like, oh, I don't know, menstruate, like, it was just like, okay, she's having her period, let's lock her in an asylum. If some guy was caught, masturbating, which is something, like everybody does, and it's like, oh, he's insane, throw him in here. If anybody was suffering, mental stress from losing a job, throw him in the, so it wasn't just people who were, suffering legitimate psychotic episodes. It was anybody who wasn't considered normal, and whatever normal was back then. So people would bring their families, have a picnic lunch, and make fun of the people who were here, who were trapped here, who were prisoners here, in my opinion. And I think that's insane. I think that is more insane than the people who were suffering here. So yeah, it was not a fun time here. I'm just going to give a little bit more of the history of the building, not too much more. It was closed in 1995. I know that it briefly opened as a museum, I think in the 80s, but the whole building was closed down in 1995, and since then there have been plans to do things with it. I know that the provincial government wanted to do something with it, and then the college that's on this street, they also wanted to buy the property from the government and do something with it for the college, and that's not going through, or it is, and then the province has, I since heard, has decided they're going to build something that the city doesn't like. I don't know. So I don't know what Ontario is doing. I don't know what Hamilton is doing. I just want something done to this building before it is falling, like literally falling to the ground, which has happened in the city before with the building, and they're like, well, maybe we should do something about that. So now, before I get on to the hauntings here, I want to talk about the only 2 deaths that I found online that were documented here, and that surprises me. This was an asylum for quite some time. Definitely, I can guarantee you there was more than the 2 stories that I was able to find. I'm just not sure where to find them because I have such a low-tech brain that I'm sure I'm not navigating the internet right. But anyway, the 2 that I thought were interesting, on November the 10th, 1887, there was a woman named Bridget English. She was in the asylum for suicidal tendencies. And for whatever reason, they decided to leave her unattended one day. So surprise, surprise, on November the 10th, they found her hanging from a steam pipe. So that was one death that I was able to find. And then the other one was on August the 1st, 1911. I don't even think it was in this building. I believe it was on the grounds. I think it was the Barton building, or the Barton building. And there was a fire that broke out in this building, and there was 800 people sleeping at the time of the fire. So 800 people trying to escape. 8. Remarkably, just 8, but 8 people died. They did not make it out. So those were the only 2 things that I could find. But like I said, with the energy and with what went on in this building, what went on these grounds, I can guarantee you there was more deaths, and there's so much negative energy and so much sadness and unhappiness that there is definitely ghosts here. And that is why I think that this is considered one of the most haunted buildings in Canada. So I'm going to show a little bit of the building itself here. This is the front doors, obviously. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like I said, I hope they do something with it, but I hope they keep the integrity of the building the way it is. Not just add some stupid, crappy architecture to it, like I've seen them do to other buildings that are old, and they just stick like that stupid glass structure crap all over it. I want them to keep the integrity just as it is. That would be so nice. But it's gorgeous. All right, now we're going to get to the stuff that I came here to talk about, which is the ghosts. Now, in this particular building, there has been several haunted experiences expressed by several people. So the big one is, people will find things that they're looking for, like their keys or something, they've gone missing. And they can't find them anywhere. And then for some reason, they're in another room. And they didn't put them there, and they don't know how they got there, and they don't know why they're there. But things go moving from room to room, and nobody knows why they go there. So that's a big one. Security guards who have come in here and have looked around for people who are trespassing to get inside. Have felt themselves being pushed by unseen hands. So people who are, security guards just looking around. I'm assuming because they're in a uniform, and I'm assuming that the inmates, particularly the ones that were criminally insane, probably did not like people in uniform, especially ones that may look like police, so they would push them over. So a lot of security guards have felt that. There's dragging sounds, there's footsteps, there's voices, there's laughter, pipes that are banging. So you'll always hear stuff like that. Now the pipes that are banging, maybe we could put that as, okay, this is an old building, things are going to clank, things are going to pipe. But things like footsteps and voices and stuff, go and check it out. Make sure that there's not people there, like actual living people. And if there's not, it might be ghosts. You never know. So that's the other one. There's also one that I think's fascinating. There's people being touched, but there's also intelligent spirits here, intelligent apparitions. People have been inside and have been greeted by a nurse. Not just one, there's been a couple of nurses. They will greet people when they come inside, they will talk to them, they will walk with them, and then they'll just disappear. So these people are having conversations with this woman in a nurse's uniform that they think might be part of a quote-unquote maybe a tour, or maybe they'll be part, just a nurse. This is actually a medical facility these grounds are still a medical facility. So I'm sure it hasn't happened in a long time, because if you go in there and you find a nurse, the building's closed up, so it ain't a nurse. But back, I guess, back before 1995, you go in here and walk around, and a nurse would take you to certain locations and whatnot, and would talk to you, and then she'd just disappear in front of your eyes. That's pretty good indication that that's a ghost. So I think that one's the best, because I think intelligent hauntings are the most interesting. There's a lot of residual, like the footsteps and the pipes banging and the talking and stuff. That could all be residual energy of things that were once here. But an intelligent energy to me is fascinating, because that means that spirit, that thought process of that person is still here. That person is still here for whatever reason and is communicating with you. And I find that fascinating, and I wish that we could all just take the time to talk to these people to find out why they're here and what they would like. I think that's really, really cool. I've never been inside this building, and I probably never will be unless they have like a sanctioned tour or something. Yeah, I would love to be inside here, and I would love to meet an intelligent apparition of a nurse and just talk with her and find out what's going on. Why are you still here? I think that would be incredible. I've had a lot of ghostly experiences, but I don't know. That one intrigues me. I would like to be in there and talk to somebody. That would be cool. All right, I'm a little higher up than I probably should be. I probably shouldn't be on these stairs, but a total rebel, right? So, yeah, so I am still here at the Century Manor. I'm gonna wander around and take a few more pictures, but that's pretty much it. The intelligent hauntings, the voices, the bangs, the being pushed, they're all pretty intense feelings, I think, here. And this would be a place that if the province and the city can finally agree to do something with this building. I hope they do it, and I hope they do it soon, because this building is gorgeous. It is a major part of Hamilton history. Whether it be good or bad, it's still a part of history that needs to be kept. This is the only building left from that entire structure, and it needs to be saved. And I really, really, really hope they can do something with this building. And I hope they do it soon, because to have it fall apart in dereliction would just be a damn shame. So there is another building just up the street that I want to try and get to. That one is not derelict anymore, but I'm going to try and see if I can get onto the grounds, and then we're going to talk about that one, because that one's really interesting too. If not, then I will come again and say goodbye. So I'm going to wander around and take some more pictures now, because I like to. Okay, this I just found interesting. I'm walking around the grounds taking pictures, and I just found a toonie and a loony. And the thing that I find interesting, aside from the fact that I was just joking with myself going, hey, I finally got paid for doing a vlog, but what I find interesting mostly about this is that the loony has a very important, significant year to it on my life. And the thing is, this is not the first time I have found money while doing a paranormal vlog, and the same year. It's the year that I had some life-saving surgery, and I'm just like, maybe the building is thanking me for talking about how important it is to keep it. Who knows? Anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I got paid for doing a vlog for the first time. Oh my goodness, I forgot another important haunting that I forgot to add in, so I'll add that in now before I go. As you can see, all these windows are all boarded up, right? But back in the day when the windows were still intact and they weren't boarded up, people would walk by in the middle of the night. There's no electricity and nobody's in the building, but they would see the lights going on and off on a constant basis. So how does that happen when there's no light bulbs and there's no electricity in the building, but the lights are going on and off in the building? So I found that one interesting. But I'm going to make my way to the other building now, so I hope I can get in there to talk about that one, because that's another interesting one. But since I've been here, I've only been here for maybe, I'd say the maximum half an hour just wandering around. There have been several people who have come here to take pictures. So this is a popular place, the Century Manor. People like it. They come here. It's a beautiful building. They take beautiful pictures of it. And yeah, I see another old building that I know nothing about over there. It's obviously built later than this one, but I'm going to take some pictures of that because it's also falling apart. So I'll do that, make my way over to the other building, and hopefully I will see you soon. Okay, we are at location number 2, which took me way longer than I thought it was going to be to get here, because when Kyla has her camera, Kyla gets distracted. So basically a 1-hour trip will usually turn into 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours. So I was over at the Century Manor around there, and then I saw other buildings that were kind of falling apart, and then I went, oh look, there's a trail over here, and then I was at the edge of the mountain in Hamilton. I just kept going. So, but if you haven't already noticed, we are at the second location, and if you're from Hamilton, you definitely know what this is. This is the Akmar Mansion. And so I have my little cheat sheets here for this one. This is an exquisite building. I've never been inside, but I am looking forward to the day when I can be. But yeah, it's a gorgeous building. I absolutely love it, and I have a little bit of the history here. It was built in 1855 for a man named Isaac Buchanan, who was a very, very well-respected politician in this area. He was born and lived in Scotland, Glasgow, I believe, and then he moved over to Canada, and he became elected to the Legislative Assembly for Toronto and Hamilton. He helped establish the Free Church of Scotland in Canada West. He helped set up a board of trade in Hamilton. He served as directory in Great Western Railway, and he served as the first commanding officer of the 13 Militia Regiment, which is now called the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry. So he was kind of a busy guy, and he did a lot of things. So not only when I'm talking busy, I'm not just just talking about his political life either. He also lived here with his 11 children and his wife Agnes. So he was busy in other ways too. But he had this place built to try and get away from the hustle and the bustle, and not so much now because we're on a busy street now, but back in the day this was a beautiful, cool area on the mountain away from the summer heat and the summer craziness of the city below. And once this place got built, it became known, it got the nickname, became known as the Dundurn Castle of the mountain. Now, if you remember my very first vlog that I did, I was for Dundurn Castle was in there. So you would know what that looks like. It doesn't look a thing like Auchmar, but you know, it's still really nice. And it is also haunted. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story about this. The mansion changed hands a few times. It was sold to Captain Trigg, and then he sold it back to the Buchanan family. It went to the Buchanan's son, James, in 1900. In 1926, it became a rehab hospital for the RCAF, and then in 1945, a group of nuns, I honestly can't remember what they were called, but they purchased the land and they made it a religious retreat, and it stayed that way until 1999. The city of Hamilton now owns the Akmar. And up until that time, there was zero reports of any hauntings. Now, I do find it interesting that there's no stories of hauntings before 1999, because we're talking basically from when the place was built. You know, over 100 years later, no talking at all about ghosts and everything, but at the same time, I'm not entirely surprised. Little surprised, not entirely. This was back in the time when people didn't want to talk about hauntings. They thought it would scare people away and stuff, especially with nuns and the religious retreat and stuff like that. I'm sure they would not want anybody to go, oh yeah, it's haunted, I better not go, because there used to be a time apparently when people thought hauntings would detract people. Now I think hauntings attract people. So that's always interesting for me. Okay, the wind is starting to pick up, the clouds are starting to come in, so we're going to try and make this as fast as possible. I'm going to talk about the hauntings that have been reported that I was able to find online. Basically, this place was used, I can't remember the year, I didn't write it down, I'm thinking the mid-2000s, maybe 2010, I don't know, I can't remember the exact date, but in the TV, YTV used this place for one of their TV shows, which was called Black Hole High. I've never heard of it, but it kind of sounded like maybe like a Harry Potter kind of thing, where it was a school for witches and wizards and stuff like that. There were tons of haunting stories and experiences from the cast and the crew alike. The big one that I thought was very interesting was they actually named the specific actor. His name was Lawrence Bain, and he actually played the villain in the TV show. He was trying to nap in one of the dressing rooms. He had actually locked the door so he wouldn't be disturbed. And just as he was about to drift off, he heard like the door being like somebody was trying to get in. And he looked up, looked right at the door, and the door opened and swung open, and there was nobody. There was nobody in the hallway. There was nobody on the other side of the door. The door just opened when it was already locked. And he's like, explain that one to me. The door was locked, for crying out loud. So that was the big one. Many performers claimed when they were here, in between takes, they would see shadows running past them. Not just out of the corner of their eye, but it would actually, a shadow would run past them. So I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of people, not just the cast and crew, but people who come here claim that they hear a little girl screaming, they hear a little girl laughing, talking, and there's no little girl there. They have also seen the apparition of a little girl. Now this girl has been seen by people. She's wearing vintage clothing, and she just disappears right in front of people's eyes. So I like that, was pretty good. And of course, you know, because this was a place where nuns had purchased land and were living here and using it, you know there's gonna be a nun. I don't know, whenever there's nuns, there always seems to be a ghost story with nuns. So there's at least one nun who resides in the basement, and she has chased people out of there. There were a couple people that were down there once, and the story goes that they were doing, I think it was the crew for the show, I can't remember what they were doing down there, but all of a sudden this woman completely all in white, and they said it looked like a nun's habit, completely in white. And they said that she didn't walk on the floor. She was kind of floating just above the floor. And she followed them until they left the basement. And she's apparently been known to do this. She will follow people until they leave the basement. So for whatever reason, she doesn't want people in the basement. So maybe there's something down there that is bad, and she's trying to save people and keep them out of there. Or maybe she's just, get out of my basement. So who knows? But the thing that I found interesting was I couldn't find any reports saying that Isaac Buchanan haunted here at all. And that would surprise me, because he loved this place so much, and ghosts are like people, they go where they like to be, and he loved this place. He had it built, you know, and it's a gorgeous place. Why wouldn't he be here? So I'm thinking he might be here. He's just not coming out and saying, hey, I'm Isaac, you know. So but I think he's here. I've never been here. I'm looking forward to the day when I can be here. I believe it's May the 7th. They're going to have an open house. They're going to open the doors up and people are going to be able to come in. I'm really looking forward to that. I would really like that. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's May the 7th. If you were interested in coming here, check it out. It is Akmar, Auchmar. They've got a Facebook page, and it's in Hamilton, Ontario. I believe May 7th they're going to have an open house. So if you're interested, come on down, and who knows, maybe you'll see a ghost. I'm just taking a walk around the grounds before I go, and you know, I've got my camera, so I'll probably be here for another 4 hours, but it's just so beautiful. There are other buildings that have been built after this one. I know that the nuns, they built extra buildings for the retreat onto the back of this property, which I believe is 10 acres when he bought it, when Buchanan bought the property. But it's so beautiful. It reminds me of like a grim fairy tale story. I guess which would make sense because it's European and Buchanan came from Scotland, which is in Europe. But it reminds me of something that you would see like in Hansel and Gretel, or you know, like one of those kind of stories where it's out in the forest and you just come upon this really cool looking house, and it's just so beautiful, and I absolutely love it. I was like, oh, look at this. Look. It's so cool looking. I just love it. It just reminds me of something you read in a fairy tale. Like, it starts off with, once upon a time, there was a man named Isaac Buchanan who came from Scotland and decided to build a beautiful mansion. And that's exactly what it is. Like, there's this, it's kind of broken. I wouldn't want to stand on it, but, you know, a little balcony, little cobblestones that I'm walking on here, but it's just stunning. Like, these are the buildings that look like they were additions built on later, but absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I'll definitely take some shots for you guys to see. And yeah, if it's May 7th, come on out, because this just looks so beautiful. This is the back, and it looks this good. Yeah, so this is the back of the Auchmar. I really hope they repair that balcony, because that is just stunning. Just to be able to stand on that balcony and look out on the 10 acres behind you. Try to remember what it looked like back in the 1800s when there was no city street, you know, and you could just see over and look out on the mountain. Now it's springtime, so the trees are not exactly pretty right now, but I'll just do a little quick scan over here. This is the property grounds. And this looks like probably the addition that was built probably by the nuns back in the mid-1900s for their religious retreat that they made. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And this is just going to be a quick scan of the front of the Auchmar. Just absolutely exquisite. I absolutely love this building. Again, the front has that same fairy tale feel to me, that same Brothers Grimm fairy tale feel to me. The architecture is just, just look at those windows, those triangular windows with the crisscross on it. Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. It's a bit long, so I'm trying to go fast, but I also want to make sure you get it all in. And these windows that pop out like that, oh, so pretty. Yeah, I have a feeling that if I ever get inside, you'll have to actually bodily remove me because I'm not ever going to want to leave. Gorgeous. Well, I guess that's it for the day. I have walked all over the grounds here as well. Spent way too much time here. So I'm right by a busy road, and I believe I'm at probably what might have been the servants' quarters or something like that. I'm not sure. It's an old building that is like really in disrepair and a bunch of broken glass because people seem to think it's fun to break the windows, which I think is totally disrespectful. But I think it's time to go. I think I finally got to get going. So, yeah, this is what's fun for me. I like to go to old places and take pictures and just walk around the grounds and feel the history of the place and on occasion see a ghost. That's not often, but it's something I like to do. But yeah, time to go. So just so you know, this is Paranormal at the Boneyard. So be sure also to watch The Boneyard, which has TJ, who is an awesome host. He does a lot of podcasts with a lot of musicians and a lot of bands, and he just talks about anything from any genre of music. He interviews them all. He's very affable. He's an awesome guy and does an awesome job, and everybody loves him. So be sure to watch The Boneyard on Facebook, on YouTube, and watch his podcast because it's pretty cool. And so this is Kyla from Paranormal at the Boneyard signing off now. And remember, just because your five senses can't detect it doesn't mean it's not really happening.